On the 23rd of April 1967, Komarov launched into space aboard Soyuz 1. The Soviet initiative to put a human into space and onto the moon was a revolutionary program, ahead of the American-led Apollo program at the time. Almost immediately, however, problems arose. One of the solar panels failed to deploy, leading to power shortages. Communication issues and navigation problems compounded the situation. Ground control and Komarov worked tirelessly to solve these issues, but the spacecraft's malfunctions persisted. The tension escalated as Komarov struggled to maintain control. After a harrowing day in space, Komarov attempted re-entry on the 24th of April. Tragically, the parachute system failed, and Soyuz 1 plummeted to the ground, killing Komarov instantly. His death sent shockwaves through the Soviet Union and the world, highlighting the immense dangers of space exploration. Vladimir Komarov, born on the 16th of March 1927 in Moscow, rose from humble beginnings to become a key figure in the Soviet space program. His journey began in World War II, where he served as an aircraft mechanic. After the war, Komarov pursued his dream of flying, graduating with top honours from Tragically Higher Air Force Pilot School in 1949, and later from the prestigious Zhukovsky Air Force Engineering Academy in 1959. His skill and determination caught the eye of the Soviet space program officials, and in 1960 he was selected as one of the first 20 cosmonauts. Komarov's first space mission, Voskhod 1, in 1964, made history as the first multi-man spaceflight. However, it was his next mission, Soyuz 1, that cemented his legacy in a tragic and suspenseful chapter of space exploration. Soyuz 1 was plagued with technical issues from the start. Despite numerous warnings about the spacecraft's flaws, the mission proceeded due to immense political pressure to outpace the Americans in the space race. Komarov, aware of the risks, bravely accepted the mission, understanding the potential cost. Growing up and the Air Force. Vladimir Komarov was born on the 16th of March 1927 in Moscow and grew up with his half-sister Matilda. His father worked various low-paid jobs to support the family. In 1935, Komarov began his education, showing a natural talent for mathematics. However, in 1941, World War II forced him to leave school and work on a collective farm. Despite these challenges, his passion for aviation never waned, and he collected magazines and pictures about aircraft, even making his own models. At 15, Komarov entered the first Moscow Special Air Force School in 1942. His education was disrupted when his father was killed in an unknown war action, and the school was relocated to Siberia due to the German invasion. There, Komarov studied various subjects, including aviation, zoology, and foreign languages. He graduated with honours in 1945, though the war ended before he could see combat. In 1946, Komarov began training at the Tragically Higher Air Force School, completing his studies at the A.K. Sarov Military Aviation College in 1949. His mother died just before his graduation, but he received his pilot's wings and was commissioned as a lieutenant in the Soviet Air Force. Komarov initially served as a fighter pilot in Grozny and married Valentina Kiselyova in 1950. Promoted to senior lieutenant in 1952, Komarov became the chief pilot of the 486th Fighter Aviation Regiment. In 1954, he enrolled in an engineering course at the Zhukovsky Air Force Engineering Academy, graduating in 1959 as a senior engineer lieutenant. That same year, he achieved his goal of becoming a test pilot at the Central Scientific Research Institute at Tchaikovsky. Komarov's career trajectory from a passionate young student to a skilled test pilot laid the foundation for his later involvement in the Soviet space program, where he would make significant contributions and ultimately sacrifice his life in the pursuit of space exploration. Cosmonaut. In September 1959, Vladimir Komarov, promoted to engineer captain, was selected from 3,000 pilots to join Air Force Group 1 for cosmonaut training at the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center near Moscow. Despite his qualifications, Komarov wasn't chosen among the top 6 candidates due to age, height and weight restrictions imposed by chief designer Sergei Korolev. At 32, he was the second oldest with a wealth of experience, including as a flight test engineer. Komarov's training began in March 1960, but a minor operation in May rendered him unfit for physical training for 6 months. Unlike others who might have been disqualified, his engineering background allowed him to continue academic studies while recovering. Returning to training in October, he assisted his peers, earning the nickname The Professor. By 1962, Komarov was the third highest paid cosmonaut, earning 528 rubles monthly, behind only Yuri Gagarin and German Titov. He replaced Georgy Shonin for planned Vostok missions in May 1962, but was grounded due to a heart irregularity found during routine testing. Persistent lobbying led to his readmittance to the program. In 1963, Komarov was in Group 2, training for missions up to 5 days. He was named backup for Vostok 5 and included in a later group for 1964 missions, though these did not materialize under the original Vostok program. By April 1964, Komarov was declared spaceflight ready, part of a group from which the Voshchod mission commander would be chosen. The group was narrowed down to Komarov, Volynov, Leonov and Krunov. Komarov lived at the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center, or TSBK, with his wife Valentina and their 2 children, Yevgeny and Irina, enjoying hunting, skiing and social activities. He was respected by his peers for his humility and experience, earning high prestige among fellow cosmonauts, including admiration from Pavel Popovich and Alexei Leonov for his seriousness and first-class test pilot skills. The Great Beyond. By July 1964, only 7 cosmonauts remained eligible for the Voshchod crew, with several disqualified on medical grounds. On the 6th of July, Vladimir Komarov was named commander of the backup crew for Voshchod 1. After intense debate between Nikolai Kamanin and Sergei Korolev, Komarov was named prime commander crew on the 4th of October 1964, just 8 days before the launch. Despite his weaker tennis skills compared to his crew, Komarov's extensive training and flight experience distinguished him. On the 9th of October, Komarov and his crew inspected the Voshchod with Korolev and administration members, followed by interviews and a tennis match for photographers. On the 11th of October, Komarov was given communist relics to take into space. He inspected the capsule again and received final instructions from Korolev. As the only trained and experienced member, Komarov's call sign was Ruby. During the mission, Komarov and his crew conducted medical and navigational tests, observed the aurora borealis, and Komarov alone tested ion thrusters on the Voshchod. He also transmitted a greeting to the Tokyo Olympics. The mission lasted for over 24 hours, and after a safe landing, the crew returned to Churatam. Although fatigued, Komarov was in good spirits. On the 19th of October, they reported in Red Square and attended an audience at the Kremlin. The successful mission earned Komarov a promotion to Colonel, the Order of Lenin, and Hero of the Soviet Union. In December 1964, the Strategic Rocket Forces, or RVSN, requested Komarov's transfer from the Soviet Air Force, which Kamanin opposed. In 1965, Komarov supervised preparations for Voshchod 2 with Yuri Gagarin, overseeing spacesuits and briefings. In April, Komarov toured Leningrad with fellow cosmonauts and visited early rocket experiment sites. In September, he was even allowed to tour West Germany. Soyuz 1. Vladimir Komarov was assigned to the Soviet Soyuz program alongside Yuri Gagarin and Alexei Leonov. In July 1966, Komarov faced reprimand from Kamanin for revealing, during a trip to Japan, that the Soviet Union planned a series of lunar missions. The Soviet Union will, at the scheduled time, fly an automated spacecraft around the Moon and return it to Earth, to be followed by a dogflight then a manned circumlunar flight. The following month, Komarov clashed with engineers over Soyuz module design issues, particularly the hatch size, which is too small for a fully suited cosmonaut to exit safely. Komarov and his colleagues were increasingly frustrated by the lack of response to their concerns, which Gagarin had formally raised in a letter to Leonid Brezhnev. In 1967, Komarov was chosen to command Soyuz 1, with Gagarin as his backup. Both cosmonauts worked 12 to 14-hour days during preparations. Upon orbital insertion, Soyuz 1's solar panels failed to fully deploy, limiting power and obstructing navigation equipment. Komarov reported, "Conditions are poor, the cabin parameters are normal, but the left solar panel didn't deploy. The electrical bus is at only 13 to 14 amperes. The high-frequency communications are not working. I cannot orient the spacecraft to the sun. I tried orienting the spacecraft manually using the DO1 orientation engines, but the pressure remaining on the DO1 has gone down to 180. Komarov struggled for 5 hours to manually orient the Soyuz module. Communication was lost on orbits 13 through 15 due to high-frequency transmitter failure. The Soviets aborted the launch of the second Soyuz module, which was to dock with Soyuz 1, and cut the mission short. Komarov was instructed to use ion flow sensors on orbits 15 to 17 to reorient the craft, but the sensors failed. He had to attempt a manual re-entry on orbit 19, using the Vzor periscope to locate the sun and align the craft. He successfully re-entered Earth's atmosphere on the 19th orbit, but the module's drogue and main parachutes failed to deploy, resulting in a fatal crash at 6:24 a.m. Legacy. In his diary, Nikolai Kamanin noted that the Soyuz 1 capsule crashed at 30 to 40 meters per second, leaving Komarov's body an irregular lump. 3 hours later, State Commission members visited the site. At 21:45, Kamanin accompanied Komarov's remains to Orsk Aerodrome for transfer to Moscow. The remains were quickly autopsied and cremated for a state burial in the Kremlin Wall. On the 25th of April, Pravda published a tribute from fellow cosmonauts. For the forerunners, it is always more difficult, but anyone who takes the pathway into orbit never wants to leave it. Vladimir Komarov was one of the first on this treacherous path. In a 17th of May interview, Yuri Gagarin criticized the administration's neglect of cosmonauts' concerns about the Soyuz module, urging more rigorous testing. In May 1967, Gagarin and Leonov criticized program head Vasily Mishin's poor knowledge of the spacecraft and lack of cooperation, requesting his citation in the crash report. On the 26th of April 1967, Komarov was given a state funeral in Moscow, and his ashes were interred in the Kremlin Wall necropolis at Red Square. The American astronauts requested the Soviet government to allow a representative to attend, but were turned down. Komarov was posthumously awarded his Second Order of Lenin and also Hero of the Soviet Union. On the 25th of April 1968, a memorial service was held for Komarov at the crash site near Orsk. Kamanin noted in his diary that over 10,000 people were present at this service, some driving hundreds of kilometers for the event. Komarov had been featured on the commemorative first day covers and stamps for his contribution to the space program from several different countries. Before leaving the moon on Apollo 11's lunar module, Neil Armstrong's final task was to place a space package of memorial items to honour Soviet cosmonauts Komarov, Yuri Gagarin, and the Apollo 1 astronauts. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give it a like. And for more amazing tales and thrilling stories, don't forget to subscribe to Uncovered Secrets. Also, hit the bell icon to stay notified for every release.